Hi, I'm Dr. Momo. As a Johns Hopkins nursing clinical scholar, the focus of my doctoral work was the LGBTQ community. Today we are going to discuss building a culture of inclusivity. Why is it so important anyway? Before we get started, anytime you see this heart appear, look for a citation in the references. An inclusive culture makes people feel seen, supported, and heard, leading to better performance and less absenteeism. It even leads to higher customer service ratings and increased overall success. Before we jump in, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, baby Sticky. Sticky grew. And grew some more. This is Sticky all grown up. Sticky grew up and exists on Earth. Our Earth. A heteronormative Earth. Sticky identifies as part of the LGBTQ community. Sticky's Earth holds harmful ideas towards LGBTQ people. Harmful ideas such as you're a sinner, it's just a phase. Girls don't do this, boys don't do that, and you're not welcome here, just to name a few. Sticky's Earth also does harmful actions towards the LGBTQ community. Harmful actions like dead naming, bullying, rejection, being forced to pick male or female, and bathroom policing. Not only that, but Sticky's Earth even has harmful regulations towards the LGBTQ community. Harmful regulations such as not being allowed to play sports, not being allowed to adopt, being denied medical treatment, being denied spousal privileges, and anti-LGBTQ legislation. In 2023, every state in the US introduced anti-LGBTQ legislation. Sticky feels the full weight of simply existing on this earth. This cumulative burden is known as minority stress. Sticky being part of the LGBTQ community is not the problem. Rather, carrying the lifelong stress load weighted down by stigma, prejudice, and discrimination is. Minority stress is like living your entire life trying to survive a storm on rough seas. LGBTQ youth are particularly vulnerable. They are 4 times more likely than their counterparts to attempt suicide. In the last 12 months, 42% have seriously contemplated suicide. And every 45 seconds, an LGBTQ youth attempts suicide. Remember, these risks are not because of sexual orientation or gender identity, but because of how they are stigmatized by society. Those statistics encompass data collected from all LGBTQ youth. These risks further increase for youth of color and trans and non-binary youth. Wait, we can make it better. But how? We can become LGBTQ allies, or in other words, be someone who shows up, speaks up, and offers support for others. It's being in someone's corner. LGBTQ youth who report having at least one accepting adult, or ally, were 40% less likely to attempt suicide. So, how do we become allies? It all starts with building a culture of inclusivity. Remember Sticky? Building a culture of inclusivity starts with understanding the minority stress that Sticky has endured their entire life and how that minority stress impacts every relationship and interaction with the world. Okay, it's time for Inclusivity Training 101. Let's get started. Follow me, class is about to begin. Lesson 1. Who are LGBTQ people? They are all ages, races, and ethnicities. However, every LGBTQ person is unique. What they all have in common is the experience of being sexual and gender minorities. They represent 4.5 to 17% of the US population, with younger people more likely to openly identify as LGBTQ than older generations. The lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community is very diverse, and it is important to keep in mind that the term LGBTQ does not fully encompass all aspects of sexual orientation and gender identity. There are many tools which attempt to explain the nuances of gender identity and sexual orientation. One of these tools is the gender unicorn. It is a visual representation of how each of us have various ways in which we express our gender and sexuality. How one understands and defines these factors over their lifetime may continually grow. On the diagram, the terms other, or other genders, are used to indicate the many genders which people might identify as, express themselves as, or be attracted to outside the binary options. Also, notice how there are 3 arrows under the main headings. This allows you to adjust your response in a very diverse way. Think of it like rating each item on a scale from 0 to 10. It is like someone asked you if you liked tacos, pizza, or hamburgers, but you were able to score how much you liked each one on a sliding scale. The top row is gender identity. It is how you internally experience and define your gender based on how much you align, or don't align, with what you understand the options to be. You can think of gender identity as who you know yourself to be on the inside, or how you see you. Next is gender expression. This is how you externally express gender, through actions, clothing, demeanor, etc., and how those presentations are viewed based on social expectations. Think of gender expression as what you present on the outside, or how you present you. The third row is sex assigned at birth, which is the anatomical sex assigned to an infant. This is what was decided when you came out kicking and screaming, and someone took a look between your legs. If we look at sex in a bit broader definition, it refers to organs, hormones, chromosomes, and other pieces of anatomy. Being intersex can be any combination of what I just described, and occurs in 1 in every 100 births. When your interpretation of gender matches the gender roles that society expects of you based on your sex assigned at birth, then you are considered cisgender. And when those do not match up, you are considered transgender, non-binary, or genderqueer. Let's go over a couple of important terms. Transgender woman is a person assigned male at birth who identifies as a woman, girl, female, or feminine. Transgender man, someone assigned female at birth who identifies as a man, boy, male, or masculine. Before we move on to the next portion of the gender unicorn, it is important to understand that gender identity, sexual orientation, and gender expression are independent of one another. One does not decide the other. The next 2 rows of the gender unicorn are sexual orientation, which refers to who we are physically and/or emotionally attracted to, or not. Physical attraction includes who you are sexually attracted to, while emotional attraction includes who you are romantically attracted to. We often think of sexual orientation as being pretty simple, such as straight, lesbian, gay, bisexual. However, it is not necessarily so cut and dry. For example, asexual people often desire to have emotional connections, but may not have any sexual desire. The gender unicorn really allows us to show how we are each different. Assuming each option is 0 through 10, then there are over 9 trillion different possible combinations. We are all truly unique. Remember, the gender unicorn is descriptive, not prescriptive. It is not a diagnostic tool. You cannot diagnose someone as queer by using this unicorn. Some key points are: terms differ among cultures. Terms change often. Stay current. If you don't know a term, don't be afraid to ask. And mirror terms people use for themselves. An example of terms changing over time and mirroring the terms people use for themselves is the word queer. Older people may find this word offensive, while the younger generation has reclaimed it. Queer is an umbrella term, used when one's sexual orientation or gender identity does not correspond to the ideas established by the heteronormative world. Gender affirmation refers to the range of actions that individuals undergo to thrive as their authentic selves. It looks different for everyone, and may be social, legal, or medical. Social affirmation might not be something that happens across every aspect of a person's life. They may have to be one version of themselves with close friends, and another at family gatherings, or in work settings. Examples include telling people the pronouns you use or making your hair, mannerisms, and clothes match how you define your gender. Legal affirmation is pretty straightforward. It includes things like changing your name, getting a new gender marker on your driver's license, and other examples that likely require a trip to the courthouse. Medical affirmation is a bit less straightforward, and not everyone that does not identify as cisgender takes this route. Taking hormones and surgery fall under this category. Now that we know some basic LGBTQ terms and have been introduced to the concept of minority stress, let's move on to Lesson 2, what we, as allies, can do to promote inclusivity. If I am reluctant to enter a business but see an inclusive sign, it lets me know I am welcome there. So, step 1 of building a culture of inclusivity is creating a welcoming atmosphere for all. This can be done by hanging supportive posters and artwork. Step 2 involves personal interactions. A vital way to improve personal interactions is by using the names and pronouns people ask you to use. Using the right names and pronouns is simple, but because you are human you may still mess up. If you do, offer a simple apology and try to get it correct the next time. You probably already do this. You have a friend who goes by a nickname, like a Robert who goes by Bob. Let's cover a few examples of harmful versus inclusive interactions. Instead of "do you have a wife or girlfriend?" we could ask, "Are you in a relationship?" Here's another example. Instead of, "Hello Mr. Smith, what can I do for you today?" we could say, "Hi, my name is Dr. Momo, what do you go by?" By speaking in ways that do not convey assumptions or judgments, we build a culture of inclusivity. Remember, we all make mistakes when addressing others. Just apologize, but don't overdo it. The third step in building a culture of inclusivity is using inclusive data collection forms. Organizations use experience and wisdom to make decisions, but rely on the accuracy of the collected data to inform those decisions. For example, a lesbian couple is planning their wedding. One partner wishes to wear a suit and the other a gown. The shop offers both. When they fill out the appointment form, it only asks if the groom will be needing a suit fitting. They answer the questions the best they can. When they arrive to the appointment, the seamstress asks which one of you is the bride and will the groom be joining us. To prevent this awkward interaction from occurring, the appointment form could have allowed for a bride or groom to select gown or suit, and to also have allowed for same-sex couple responses. Gender is commonly asked on forms simply because it has always been asked. If there is a legitimate reason you need to know gender identity, then offer inclusive options such as male, female, genderqueer/non-binary, or fill in the blank. Remember, this may be different from sex assigned at birth. In our last example, the form incorrectly assumed female meant interest in gowns, and male meant interest in suits. We know this is not always true. Instead of asking about gender, ask yourself, what do I really need to know? In our example, a more inclusive question, and one that told you the information you were actually after, would be, are you interested in suits or gowns? The next step of building a culture of inclusivity is continuing to move forward. You didn't create the system, and being stuck in anger, guilt, or shame serves no one. Instead, seek out resources to further strengthen your knowledge. Here are a few great resources. PFLAG is the first and largest organization dedicated to supporting, educating, and advocating for LGBTQ people and their families. The Trevor Project provides information, support, and crisis intervention to LGBTQ young people via chat, message, and phone support. The Human Rights Campaign is the largest national LGBTQ civil rights organization. They envision a world where LGBTQ people are ensured of their basic equal rights, and can be open, honest, and safe at home, at work, and in the community. It is up to your organization to find industry-specific resources. For example, the Fenway Institute offers education and resources to healthcare teams. The Modern Military Association of America is a united voice for the LGBTQ military and veteran community. And the National Gay Pilots Association works to support and unite the LGBTQ aviation community. Almost every industry has an organization devoted to LGBTQ needs. We covered a lot of information in class today. Lesson 1 covered who LGBTQ people are, and the gender unicorn. Lesson 2 discussed building a culture of inclusivity by creating a welcoming atmosphere, improving relationships, using inclusive forms, and knowing available LGBTQ resources. The real work begins now. As an ally, you will make mistakes. Take a deep breath. Apologize. Do more learning, and most importantly, keep moving forward. Remember, we all have the power to make a difference. We learned some stuff. We felt some feelings, and now, together we can create a more inclusive world.